may have seen photos of celebrities and others showing off dramatic weight loss.
They promise a quick fix to losing kilos, even though they're not designed as weight loss remedies.
Number 9 had me doing a full pause because the honesty level was so unexpected. But girl, that's nothing compared to number 1, where the entire conversation about Hollywood standards just clicked into place in a way that honestly makes so much sense. We're watching the biggest transformation era Hollywood's ever seen. Red carpets look completely different than they did 3 years ago. Award shows have people talking more about appearances than performances. And the gap between what celebrities say publicly versus what fans are noticing privately, it's never been wider. Okay, so here's where we're at coming into 2026. The conversation around GLP-1 medications, the treatments originally designed for type 2 diabetes that also cause significant weight changes, isn't whispered about anymore. It's out in the open.
A lot of people have been wondering about my new fitness journey and what I've been doing, and I've been really open about me being on GLP-1.
Some celebrities have been really transparent about using them for health reasons. Others credit traditional methods, and fans are just trying to figure out what's real and what's PR. And before we go further, let me be super clear. This is not about shaming anyone's choices. What someone does for their own wellness is deeply personal. But here's why this conversation matters. When you've got millions of people watching these transformations, comparing themselves, wondering why their own efforts aren't producing the same results, the honesty piece becomes important. Not because anyone owes us their medical history, but because the pressure people feel is real. Starting at 15, working down to the revelation that honestly shifted my entire perspective on this. Let's get into it.
One social media user made a comment after Katy's most recent on-stage performance, saying she's definitely taking Ozempic.
Number 15 gave us one of the most detailed natural explanations, Katy Perry and the Orlando Bloom morning ritual. So throughout 2024 and into 2025, fans noticed Katy looking noticeably slimmer at public appearances. The speculation started immediately, as it does with any celebrity transformation these days. At her birthday party, according to some outlets, there were even playful goodie bags that referenced the rumors, basically turning the whole conversation into a joke. But sources close to her doubled down on the natural defense, telling outlets she's just copying Orlando's intense routine. We're talking lemon water before coffee every single morning, early workouts where he's basically coaching her through circuits, cutting way back on processed foods and added sugars. The reports mentioned 5 smaller meals throughout the day, focusing on lean proteins and lots of vegetables. The thing is, that routine sounds completely plausible. Orlando's known for being dedicated to fitness. Having a partner who motivates you and holds you accountable can absolutely make a difference. But the timing and the speed had many fans raising questions, especially since she'd mentioned in interviews that working out isn't her favorite activity. This one sparked so much online discussion. Christina Aguilera and the Rainbow Diet explanation. Christina showed up at events in 2024 and last year looking dramatically different from how fans remembered her. At the burlesque musical opening in London and at a Barry's bootcamp appearance, the change was significant enough that it became a major talking point across social media. Her team shared that she's been following something called the Rainbow Diet, where you eat different colored whole foods each day of the week. Orange foods one day, green another, rotating through to get different nutrients. She's also discussed weightlifting with cardio, boxing, and jump rope for variety. The detailed explanation suggested a comprehensive lifestyle overhaul, and those things, structured eating, consistent exercise, those absolutely can lead to changes over time. What had people discussing it endlessly was the particular way facial features can shift with rapid changes and the timeline involved. Christina posted on social media around New Year's basically saying she doesn't owe anyone an explanation about her, which is absolutely her right. Your body, your business. But it left the questions kind of hanging there, with fans split between accepting her explanation and wondering if there might be more to the story. Now we're hitting the admissions, and number 13 actually surprised people with how open she was. Serena Williams calling it what it was. Serena talked to Today in 2025 about something that probably shocked a lot of people. Despite all her intense athletic training, despite being one of the greatest athletes in human history, despite access to world-class nutrition and coaching, she said she was struggling to reach her goals after stepping back from professional tennis. She confirmed she used a prescribed medication and lost over 31 pounds. But here's what made her admission so important. She framed it as enhancement, not replacement. She made it super clear she was still doing everything she'd always done. The vigorous workouts, the strict nutrition plans, all of it. The treatment just helped her finally break through a plateau her body wouldn't move past on its own. Can you imagine? Serena Williams, someone whose entire identity is built on discipline and pushing physical limits, saying even that wasn't enough. That admission shifted something in the conversation because you can't exactly tell Serena to just work harder.
I've tried everything. It's just the science for me, calories in versus calories out. Ozempic works because you eat less food.
Number 12 is complicated. Lizzo opening up about trying multiple approaches, including these treatments. Lizzo posted something early on that had people confused, setting a video to audio that said, "It's like a reward," which some took as making fun of the speculation. But then she got real on the Just Trish podcast, and the story became more nuanced. She said she's genuinely tried everything over the years, including these medications. Her take was interesting, though. She said they work by making you feel full, so if you can achieve that same discipline through your own mindset, the end result is similar. She positioned it as something she explored but ultimately didn't need to rely on because she found her own path. What really stood out was her recent writing about what she's calling the disappearance of body inclusivity. She pointed out that plus-size models aren't getting booked like they were even 2 years ago. Brands that championed extended sizing are quietly scaling back those ranges. And the whole movement that gave so many people permission to exist as they are is being replaced by a return to one narrow standard. Whether her own journey contributed to changing perceptions or pushed back against industry pressure is something fans have different opinions on. She's maintained she did things naturally while also acknowledging the pressure everyone faces is intensely real and genuinely harmful.
Ice Spice said in a recent X Spaces chat, "I wish y'all never learned the word Ozempic. That's one thing I wish."
Girl, number 11's response was pretty direct. Ice Spice and the tour's workout defense. When fans started asking questions about changes they noticed, Ice Spice didn't exactly tiptoe around her frustration. She basically said people don't understand how physical her performance schedule is. Between rehearsals and actual shows and the constant movement required for her stage presence, she credited all that activity for her appearance. She also kind of dismissed the whole conversation, acting like she didn't really understand what people were even asking about. That response, acting unfamiliar with something that's become such a massive cultural talking point, came across to some fans as avoidance rather than genuine confusion. What made this notable was the tone. Instead of just calmly explaining her routine, there was an edge to it that suggested she felt personally attacked by the question. And sometimes that defensiveness, whether justified or not, can make people more curious rather than satisfied with the answer. The performance explanation makes total sense on the surface. Touring is genuinely exhausting physical work, but the particular timing and the aggressive way she shut down the conversation had some people thinking there might be more nuance to the story than just stage cardio.
Just like, why do people think it's okay to talk about me?
Number 10 centered everything on motherhood, Kylie Jenner and the 2 pregnancies explanation. When British Vogue asked Kylie about speculation, especially after Travis Scott released music with certain lyrics, she focused entirely on her experience carrying 2 children. She talked about gaining 60 pounds with each pregnancy, about people not giving mothers enough grace during the postpartum period, about seeing photos of herself 3 months after giving birth being compared to her appearance now. Her whole framing was that people forgot she'd been through 2 full pregnancies back to back, and that bodies naturally shift during that process and take time to recover, which is absolutely 100% true. Pregnancy transforms your body in profound ways, and everyone's recovery looks different. The reason fans remained curious has more to do with family patterns than her specific explanation. The Kardashian-Jenners have built careers on modification. Everyone knows about the procedures, the teams of professionals, the entire machine behind maintaining their images. So when any member of that family credits purely natural processes, people remember the times other things turned out to have assistance that wasn't initially disclosed. Kylie's positioning of it as a women's issue and about empathy for mothers was smart messaging. It made anyone questioning her sound like they were being insensitive to what women go through. But it also kind of redirected from the specific question people were actually asking. Number 9 is the response we've heard from her multiple times, Khloé Kardashian and the 6 a.m. training sessions. Khloé's been addressing questions like these for years now. Her consistent answer focuses on not discrediting the work she puts in. She talks about waking up at 6 in the morning 5 days a week, about working with trainers, about putting in effort when most people are still asleep. And honestly, she probably does work out that intensely. The Kardashians have access to the absolute best trainers, nutritionists, private chefs, and equipment money can buy. There's zero reason to doubt she's in the gym doing the work regularly. What makes fans continue discussing it is the sustained consistency without much visible fluctuation. Most fitness professionals will tell you that natural maintenance, even with dedicated concentrated effort usually comes with some variation depending on schedule, stress, travel, all those life factors. The fact that her appearance stays remarkably consistent, event after event, month after month, is what keeps the conversation alive. Interestingly, on The Kardashians, she made a comment once about how, if these treatments had existed back when she was heavier, she probably would have tried them. That admission made people wonder if the tense might have changed from would have to did without the public update.
Interview with Bustle and addresses claims that she slimmed down with the help of the type 2 diabetes drug, which has become the hot new weight loss trend.
Number 8 got emotional with the response. Jessica Simpson tying her transformation to sobriety and asking people to consider her wellness. When Bustle asked Jessica about the changes fans noticed, she brought up her past struggles. She essentially asked if people wanted her to go back to that period of her life or to be pregnant again just to explain her current appearance. It was a pretty raw response. It's a difficult position because she's connecting her transformation to recovery, which makes questioning it feel like you're questioning her health journey. And that could be completely accurate. Recovery absolutely can lead to significant physical changes as you heal and you develop different habits and routines. The way she immediately redirected to, "Do you want me drinking again?" felt like it closed down the conversation before it could even really start. Instead of just talking about focusing on her well-being now, she positioned the question as people wanting her to struggle.
Everybody thinks it's Ozempic. It's not. It's something else. But it's something that aids in helping break down the sugar.
Now we're into the admitters. And number 7 gave us strategic honesty. Kelly Clarkson confirming pharmaceutical help, but being specific about what. Kelly finally addressed everything openly on her show after months of speculation. She confirmed she's using a prescribed medication that led to significant weight changes. But then she made a really important distinction. It's not the specific one everyone assumes. She emphasized that her blood work became so concerning that her doctor recommended something. But it wasn't the most talked about name people associate with these stories. This became kind of a new approach for partial admissions. Confirm pharmaceutical assistance, but distinguish it from the specific brand everyone's discussing. It's technically being transparent while still maintaining some separation from the trend that carries the most speculation. Kelly also leaned heavily into the medical necessity angle, framing it entirely as doctors' orders for health concerns rather than anything about appearance goals. That positioning shifts the conversation from aesthetic choices to legitimate medical management.
And one of the things that's helped me drop the weight is not Majolica. Mounjaro.
Yeah.
Number 6 gave us the most casual admission. Whoopi Goldberg talking about using Mounjaro like it's any other health topic. Whoopi brought it up on The View without much fanfare. She discussed using the medication and described the significant changes it made, talking about how much better she feels managing her health this way. At her age and with her medical history, the wellness concerns were probably very real and serious. What stood out about Whoopi's approach was how completely matter-of-fact she was about the whole thing. No shame, no defensiveness, no elaborate justifications, just acknowledgement that this is part of her health management now, the same way someone might discuss blood pressure medication or any other treatment. She brought it up in conversation with Kelly Clarkson almost casually, like discussing any other aspect of healthcare. That normalcy around the topic actually made it easier for viewers to understand this as a legitimate medical tool rather than some scandalous secret.
So I tried Ozempic almost 3 years ago.
Amy's been upfront about her experience from the beginning. She tried it, had a really difficult time with the side effects, couldn't be present with her son the way she wanted to be, and made the decision to stop. She lost some weight during that period, but decided the trade-off wasn't worth continuing. But here's where she became really important to this entire conversation. She went on Watch What Happens Live and basically said everyone needs to stop with the elaborate explanations. She called out the smaller portions and clean eating excuses, pointing out that when transformations happen this quickly and this dramatically, those explanations don't really add up. That honesty after experiencing it herself gave her real credibility. She wasn't promoting it or condemning anyone who uses it. She was just saying, please be real with people about what's actually happening. Amy's frustration seemed to come from watching regular people compare themselves to these transformations, being told it's all achievable through discipline and vegetables, and then feeling like failures when they can't replicate those results. She was basically done watching that cycle play out and mess with people's heads. When you're doing everything right and still can't look like someone who claims it's just gym time, it creates this awful feeling of personal failure. And she wanted that dishonesty to stop.
Hey, Oprah Winfrey sent Weight Watchers stock prices tumbling when she stepped down as the company's spokesperson after confirming recently she's taken medication to lose weight.
Number 3 is the one who didn't just change the conversation. She completely flipped the script. And honestly, a lot of people felt betrayed by it. For literal decades, Oprah was the face of willpower. She built an empire telling women that weight loss was about discipline, point systems, and spiritual growth. Then came the pivot. She stepped down from the Weight Watchers board after acknowledging her own use of pharmaceutical help. She called it a gift and redemption. While some praised her honesty, the backlash was massive. Fans pointed out the irony. After decades of building a brand on the diet and exercise industry, she was now pivoting to the medical solution. People asked, "What about all the years you told us we just weren't working hard enough?" She framed it as reframing obesity as a disease, not a willpower issue. And that is a valid medical stance. But for the millions of people who bought the books and the frozen meals thinking they just needed Oprah's discipline, the admission felt less like redemption and more like the goalposts had been moved again. Only this time, the solution requires a prescription most people can't afford.
Someone won't talk about what they're doing to lose weight, then you know it's because...
Or they come up with something, oh, I have a new trainer.
Number 2 admitted it and then became a cautionary voice. Sharon Osbourne sharing that she went further than intended and struggled to stop the changes. Sharon used it. She experienced significant weight loss in a relatively short period, and then she went public saying she'd gone further than she meant to, that the changes became hard to control once they started, that she ended up at a weight that felt too low and unhealthy for her frame. She described weeks of feeling nauseous, constant thirst, losing any joy around eating because nothing sounded appealing anymore. She said at a certain point, the weight loss seemed to have its own momentum. Like once you flipped the switch, there wasn't an easy way to find a healthy stopping point. Her warning was specifically directed at younger people. She expressed concern that these treatments are becoming so accessible without people fully understanding the potential consequences, that it's not always as simple as lose weight and feel great. Sometimes you trade one set of problems for another. Sharon's experience highlighted the side of these stories that doesn't make it into the glowing transformation posts. Not the red carpet debut and the compliments, but the moment you realize maybe looking a certain way came at too high a cost. Her honesty about the difficult parts, the ones most people don't discuss publicly, made her story really important. She's living proof that more isn't always better, that these tools are powerful and not always in ways you expect, and that the results can absolutely overshoot your intentions. Taking number 1 isn't a single celebrity. It's the bigger picture of where Hollywood actually is right now. These treatments were originally developed for a specific purpose, helping people with type 2 diabetes manage a serious metabolic condition. That was the mission. But recently, they became something else entirely. Not just a medical tool, but the standard for achieving a certain appearance. The sample sizes in fashion got smaller. The casting calls shifted back to prioritizing one specific type. Now we're watching this split play out in real time. On one side, you have the admitters, Oprah, Whoopi, Sharon, Kelly, who are being transparent, usually citing medical reasons. On the other side, you have people like Katy and Christina crediting natural methods, despite transformations that follow the exact same timeline as the medical ones. Then there is the legal reality. As of late 2025, thousands of cases have been filed regarding vision complications and persistent stomach issues, side effects many claim they weren't fully warned about. The legal system is now processing the fallout of using powerful medical tools for aesthetic purposes at this scale. But the part that breaks my heart is the impact on regular people. Fans are watching this unfold, hearing contradictory explanations, and feeling like they are failing because they can't achieve results that literally require a prescription. The pattern is clear. Hollywood found a shortcut. Some are honest about it, others are maintaining natural explanations that simply don't match the evidence. And caught in the middle are millions of people trying to achieve standards that might not be possible without resources they will never have. This isn't about judging choices. Health is personal, but the accessibility issue creates a trap where wealthy people have options that regular folks don't, creating transformations that look natural but are medically assisted. That is why the honesty gap matters. When you're working out and eating right, but you can't replicate the results someone credits to Pilates, it creates this crushing feeling that you aren't disciplined enough. When the reality is, the playing field was never even. From Katy's partner routine to Christina's rainbow diet, from Kelly's medical disclosure to Oprah's complete shift, these 15 names define exactly where Hollywood stands right now. The honest ones are dealing with the public reaction. The ones sticking to natural explanations are betting that people will stop asking. But the biggest takeaway isn't about any individual person. It's about an industry shifting its standards so dramatically that natural results are nearly impossible to distinguish from medical ones. The truth is somewhere in the complicated middle. Some have real reasons, some felt pressure, but the lack of transparency affects everyone watching. It's about recognizing that Hollywood has access to tools most people don't. Pretending those tools don't matter creates unrealistic expectations that hurt real people. If this breakdown of the honesty gap in Hollywood transformations gave you a new perspective, subscribe so you don't miss when we dig into the topics everyone else is too scared to address, honestly.